Hello and welcome to the Property Lifestyle Mastery podcast. I am Jackie Tomes, and on this show we're having open conversations about building a property business that creates not just cash flow but also freedom from those of us who have been there and done it. So from startup to over £17 million of deals done to date. So we're talking about the highs, the lows and the lessons in going on holiday every 6 weeks, and everything from big picture strategy, maximising your inner human potential, and right down to the practical solutions. And today we are joined by Guillaume Black from Property Filter, and Guillaume has created an amazing piece of software called Property Filter, and it's all about how you can create a systemised deal pipeline that's full of opportunities that hit your criteria. And this is super important if you want to be able to do property deals no matter where you are in the world. Dave is joining Guillaume today, and he came off this conversation absolutely buzzing. It is filled with insights about the inner workings of how to get enough property deals done no matter where you are in the world. You're going to love it. So without further ado, here is Dave and Guillaume.
Hello, and we have Guillaume Black with us today, who is the CEO and co-founder of a fantastic software called Property Filter. And he's been a property investor since 2012, and he calls himself an accidental property tech entrepreneur, and he helps. Primarily, his job is helping other investors to find deals, obviously on top of finding his own deals, but that he's expanded into that area. So it's a joy to have you on the podcast today, Guillaume. Thank you so much for being here.
David, thanks so much for having me.
And I just want to give some scope to where we're coming from with this conversation today, because we have a lifestyle mastery blueprint that we work from, and one of the legs of our stool, of our three-legged stool, is business strategy. And one of the parts of business strategy really in property is all about sourcing deals, finding the deals in the pipeline and the investors to go with them. But today, your expertise, we're going to be focusing in on those deals. And in particular, what I wanted to discuss with you as a general is like, what is so hard about finding deals? I mean, I have a lot of clients who kind of have, maybe find a great deal, and then we work together, and it takes them quite a while to find the next deal, and they're getting very frustrated, and I'm having to work with them through various tools and techniques that I have to get them to a point that they're actually starting to find consistent deals. I think that consistency is the word that's most important, because a property investor can't be, we need to build a business that's consistent in some way, and deals is the lifeblood of that. So for me, I want to just cover that ground with you. Like, you've obviously started in 2012. You've been through a whole process of learning how to be a genius at consistently finding deals. So yeah, I kind of would love to hear a little bit, to start with, just about what you think the main problems are from your perspective.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for the first time someone called me a genius for finding deals, so I appreciate it. So I think to start with, you want to understand, why is it so important finding deals, and the reality is that every success in property is downstream from one's ability to find great deals. There's no one out there who can buy his sourcing fee, sourcing fee after sourcing fee, buy themselves, the lifestyle and the portfolio, that delivers on that lifestyle. At some point, you have to become really good at finding deals. There is no shortcut to that, and it's a skill. And if I were to summarize some of the lessons learned, around this topic, it really would be that, one, property is a people business, and the best deals are bought from motivated sellers, and it's all about understanding the circumstance of a vendor and having the conversations with the right people, where the terms of the sale will be more valuable to the seller than the actual number of the sale. And this is where you have creative strategy, you have all sorts of ways where you create value, and the best deals are bought in this way. And property is a people business. That's really my first thing. And I could sit here and be the data guy, because we sit on more data than Rightmove, with Property Filter, but it's understanding the industry we work with. And it's the property market is full of irrational actors. And, if you just look at the data will give you an average performance of an area, and the way we see it, it's always been about, outperforming the average. You want to buy or acquire above performing assets. And you do this by being the anomaly in the data. And you do this because you are engaging with people. So very much so, property is a people business, and the best deals are done by buying from what we or one would call, motivated sellers, people who are more interested in the terms than the actual tag on it. And
That is brilliant.
Second lesson, I think it would be that property it's a numbers game, and it could be a double entendre in there, like there's a numbers game in terms of the number stacking, etc. But really what I mean by that, is that the deals are in the follow-up. And we live in a bit of a, what I would call the Amazon generation, like back when I was a kid, and teenager, my dad used to call it the cooked meal generation, where we are ready, we are used to have the ready stuff, and it's even worse now. You go on Amazon, the price is the price, you add to the basket, comes to your door next day, and people come into property from this mindset, and no one wants to do the follow-up, no one, the deals really, it's a numbers game, the deals are in the follow-up. And anybody who tells me, oh, there's no deals out there's no deals in my area, or nothing stacks. So these are people obsessing about the asking price, because on Amazon, the price is the price, and really, this is where people struggle, is they want the immediate results, like they get on, I say Amazon, but there's plenty of, immediate gratification websites, shopping solutions out there. But that's really where I think people fail. They look at the wrong opportunity to start with, the wrong people, the people who are not motivated. They can sit on it for years until they achieve their price, and they're not ready to follow up. They don't enter it with the mindset that it's going to take 3 months, 6 months. From the time I do this viewing with this good lead, it's going to take me 6 months of follow up, 3 months of follow up. And you mentioned about your students having their first deal, and then they're struggling to get the next one. And you said something really, really important, and it's this consistency. And it's the viewings you do today that are your deals, pre-Christmas, this year. And it's not so, and people go into this mindset where, oh, well, I'm not sourcing right now because I've got a project on the go. And then everything is stop-start, you stop sourcing because you have a project, and then you start again, you are no one to the market. And then you have to rebuild the relationship with the agents, the people in the area from scratch. And then you have to push all of this flywheel, like get this momentum going, and you getting out, and then 3 months, 6 months later, you finally find this deal, you stop to go do your project, and then you need to start the flywheel again when you start sourcing again. And I think this is the biggest reason why people don't get, a constant, unlimited deal flow of motivated sellers. These deal flows, they don't entertain their pipeline. And you should always be sourcing, even if you do one viewing a week, if you're viewing the right property, or, sending 10 letters a week, just to have conversations kicking in the background. And it doesn't take you more time, and you just keep this momentum. The hard thing is to start, but it's like riding your bicycle, where when you start, you have to put the small gear, and then once you're moving, you don't need to do any effort anymore. And it's very much the same with sourcing. So once you start this flywheel, which you have to start anyway, might as well get it kicking, and rather than let it die because you do your project and having to start again, 3 months, 6 months later, just keep it moving, and it's zero effort, it's 5 minutes a day. You could honestly source with 5 minutes a day, one viewing a week, and then a few WhatsApp and email follow-up conversations, half an hour a week, and then you got more deals than you can buy. You can pass it on to your friends. It pays for your other deals. I mean, the ones who do really well, this is what they do. This is the consistency you were talking about.
Brilliant, Guillaume. Like, you already just covered all the genius. We could just stop it right there, as far as I'm concerned. You've proven yourself in every way with just those 3 things. I totally agree with 100% everything you've said. I want to take us back to the beginning, people business. So we're talking about motivated sellers here. And I totally agree with you. The job here is to find the people these are the best deals, to find the people who are ready to sell at a price that works for you. And that could actually, what I find interesting about motivated sellers as a concept is that actually some people aren't necessarily even motivated. They're just ready to sell at a lower price because they see it that way. They view the price as that lower level, and they're just realistic. And other people have got unrealistic and need to become more motivated. So it doesn't matter what we're dealing with, but what we're dealing with is people trying to sell something, and they have an expectation of what they want to get out of it. And you have got to fulfill that expectation or not in some way or another. But what I find interesting is, you talked about it as a data game, and we are talking about Rightmove as a primary, one of people's primary, or Zoopla as the primary approach to finding properties. But the way you talk about it is almost, I think most people would listen to that and say, okay, so maybe, okay, if it's a people game, I'm trying to get to the seller directly. Should I be doing direct to vendor campaigns? Should I be going out there and knocking on doors? Like, what should I be doing to get to the people? So I guess my question for you is, how do you see the interrelation between the people that you're trying to get to the seller at the other side, and the fact that really we're just looking at a freaking computer screen at Rightmove, and then the next step is we got the barrier of an estate agent. How do you link from one point to the person at the other end?
So I think if in this day and age you are, looking for properties on Rightmove, you are wasting your time. If you are randomly sending out letters and leaflets, you're wasting your money. So do you want to waste your time or waste your money? It seems like this is the solution most people have, So no point intended, but there are better ways to find deals. And I would say there's nothing wrong with properties being on the market or not. The reality, especially with residential properties, is that I think 92 to 94% of the sales that are going through an agent at some point, or they were listed with an agent at some point. So the immense majority of transactions, going out there, they leave a trace, on the internet. They leave a trace that they were at some point on the market, and that's really interesting because, and this is why, randomly sending letters don't work, because there's 33 million addresses in this country. There's 1 million listing, online, every year. 800 to 1.2 million are sold every year. So if I'm random, and never mind, all of these people be motivated, But when we're looking for motivated sellers, the clue is in the name. Where are the sellers, and what is the motivation of the seller? And so how to qualify someone as a seller, where we said 92+% of the sales are going through the market. So it's a really good qualifying factor that, okay, all of these people want to sell. Because it's very common, let's say you look for corner plots or something like that, and you randomly send letters, on the only qualification that they have a corner plot. Well, most of these people they don't want to sell, or unless you play the really, really long game and you are in it for, you're going to follow up with them for the next 10 years, But other than that, for most people, because they want the deal right now for the next sort of 3 months, it's not going to work, So if you do some maths around, I said, there's 33 million addresses, 1 million change ends every year, roughly. And if you think 23% are bought by investors, so that's the share of the PRS, So if you then randomly send letters on properties on the only qualification that it's got a door and 2 windows, you've got 0.7% chance of finding someone that might sell their house in the next 12 months, and never mind them being motivated, So like, you'll have to understand that if you want to get into direct to vendor, like, there's like a true cost, There's a true cost of 0.7% chance might sell the next 12 months, and then within this you have to weed the motivated. So I'd say with marketing, and it's interesting you talk about the business pillar, of where this sits. In marketing, there's this concept of organic leads, organic traffic, and paid leads, paid traffic. And unless you're really, really good at negotiating any good leads, most people will really waste their marketing money. They'll waste their time on not converting good leads. So if you start by spending a lot of money on marketing, you'll be wasting all those good leads, and it might have cost you thousands of pounds, to get to this really good phone call of this portfolio landlord or whatever, So I'd suggest you probably want to start by exhausting the organic bits, like the free stuff, because then it doesn't cost you anything to replenish it with another one, So, and it's the same for all things. Any business, you start by selling to people around you, organically, you go and then you go wider and wider, broader and broader. You do organic content, maybe you have a blog, maybe you have YouTube, all of these free stuff, and then only once you kind of max out on what you can do there, you start to pay referrals, you start to pay ads and things like that. And the logic should be the same in property. You probably want to exhaust your organic leads, have a way to find the needles in the haystack within those organic leads before you start to spend a lot of, because you really want to cut your teeth on these, on these free leads or cheap leads, so that it doesn't cost you a fortune, the fact that you don't convert them on the other side. So there's a logic for me where you want to exhaust your organic marketing when it comes to finding deals before you move into paid solutions. And
Great.
the organic is the free stuff, but it could be a lot of efforts if you don't have a system, basically.
And I totally agree with everything you just said. I can't tell you how many people are going outside of sourcing. Often people are looking for investors, particularly with their marketing. And that's the area I've seen just people spend £1,000, £2,000 a month retainer to some marketing company, but they haven't done any of the initial stuff. They haven't exhausted the organic stuff. And it's really, you are looking for a needle in a haystack, which means you're just going to be, it's a gamble, right? It's a massive gamble at that stage. But going back to property, what is an organic lead? Because I think earlier you said, Rightmove, for example, to me sounds like a free approach, right? There's no cost to it, and you're going right in there and you've got all these leads, potential leads, prospects available to you. Where does organic come in if it's not Rightmove?
So organic is basically stuff that is available online. Now it's available, you can find it, and I said earlier, if you are still scrolling through Rightmove today, you're wasting your time. It's because 90% of what's on Rightmove and the other portals is a waste of time. You want to have a solution basically that amongst these gives you the needles in the haystack. So we've established that they were vendors, because they've put their property on the market at some point, and it doesn't have to be on the market right now, And now we need to identify the motivation indicators of these vendors and have these as triggers to go and engage with them. That's really the best ROI you'll get on any lead generation marketing is to use some kind of system that does this for you. And you could build your own, or you could leverage some cool solutions available out there.
Brilliant. I think from our perspective, the way we built our business is along the same lines. In theory, using rather than just Rightmove, just relationships with all of the people, the estate agents, the sourcers, everyone who is in contact with the vendors in the area. So our approach has always been to become the go-to for those people. We've worked to become the one that they pick up the phone to, because you're right, the term needle in a haystack is literally what we're looking for. And I think that's a problem with most people's mentality. They come into property, they think, there's loads of properties, it'll be fine, just got to find a deal, it'll be easy, and then nothing stacks. But really, then they lose heart. But really, it is a needle in a haystack, and there is a kind of element of you've got to play the system, play the game, and you've got to somehow be beating the odds somehow. And for me, beating the odds was a matter of being the go-to. So we as a business went to every single agent. We were building the relationship with them by being friendly, being there, trying to buy properties, putting in offers. And it was the old-fashioned route, I would call it, of relationship buying. And that way, they were making it super clear to them. For us, as a sourcing system, our biggest tool was making it very, very clear what we were sourcing. So it wasn't just we buy any deal, we buy any property. It wasn't that at all. It was the opposite. It was we only buy this type of property in this type of area, and it has to hit these criteria. But if it hits those criteria, we will offer and we will buy it at the right price. That's it. So it became a game of keep them aware of that, to the point that as soon as that type of deal came in, we're the ones they pick up the phone to. So you're evening out the odds. You're no longer just trying to hope you found it on Rightmove. You're actually being the first to call. And then we get the first to put an offer in. And now we've got much greater odds than the whatever percentage it was, 0.7% you said. So that worked very well for us as a concept, but it does require you to be super, super focused on your model. And I think most people aren't. But yeah, it's a game, right? It's a numbers game. And your job is to find a way to beat the numbers, to beat the odds, and become, find it easier to find those prospects, find the quality. So you talked about that as a numbers game, and the Amazon generation thing came up, which I loved your way of putting that. You've got pay what you see, wanting immediate results. It's very aligned with what our younger generation, kind of like, it's all a now generation. I want it now, and that's it. And you're right. I've seen this over and over again with clients. They see the asking price on whatever platform or whatever someone said, and it's like they can't get away from it. Whereas one of the biggest advice I always give is No, the asking price means nothing. Like just ignore it. Or for me, an asking price, all it tells me is how likely they are to say yes to my offer. That's it. It's an indicator of motivation compared to my offer, and but it means nothing else. So yeah, I'd love to hear your a bit more around that. This kind of concept of the numbers game and how you go about putting in offers and negotiations. How you make that side of the business work.
Yeah, if you think it's a whole pipeline, like, so it really starts by identifying the right leads, because you could waste your time all day long, like speaking to vendors who never want to sell, or, like where you don't have a problem to solve, So it really starts by this, identifying the problems, identifying the problem properties or those motivated sellers. And really the idea here is to do 10 times fewer viewings, sending 10 times fewer letters, but having 10 times more interesting conversations with these type of vendors. This is really the start of things. And then it's going exactly as you said, is being the best way to show and portray yourself professional is to be very accurate in what you want. And nobody remembers you if you go, oh, we're just some dudes buying any property, But if you go, oh, we only buy semi-terraces on this side of the road that are 112 square meter and above, and that I've not got an extension or loft conversion done to them. Like everybody in the office is talking about you now, So, yeah. And I find the best way to go and create these relationships is actually to identify this ideal property. You use this first lead as an icebreaker, and you go and try to make this deal work, because this is the property that matches exactly your criteria. You're serious because you've actually been there. You've had this conversation, and maybe you can't make the deal because of the circumstance of the vendor, or maybe you can, and etc. And then you use this as a lever to say, okay, anytime you see something like this, more dated, the more dated the better, but this is exactly the kind of stuff we only do this, and then deals are like buses, like the more active you are, the more you get, So the best way to build a relationship with an agent is to actually have done a deal. Once you've done it once, then you just make it to their respect book, and they can send you more. On the numbers game, I think it's really important. So when you position yourself for the negotiation and the offer, I think one of the best advice I've had is the first one who says a number loses the negotiation. So it's almost the best technique I've employed and seen doing is to actually not offer. So especially if you've got especially if you are direct to vendor, and it could be that you are direct to vendor from identifying the property on the market. There's lots of scope, kind of stuff you can do here when people are frustrated with the whole, property not selling and complaining about the agent. You can you can be their best friend. And what I find is positioning it like I'm really trying to help you, but I'm not sure I can at this number. Introduce a third party like a authority, so like it's not just based on me. I'll have to speak with my partner about it, and I'm not too sure I can help you. And then leave it to them, and then they lower the price. I'm not sure I can help you. And then with a few conversations like this, and you need to build a rapport over time, and they just drop the price. Once you build it in their head that you are the only solution because you are the only one following up. Once you followed up for more than 3 or 4 weeks, nobody else follows up that long, So you've made it to their, you occupy some head space with the vendor or the agent that you are the only possible solution to their problem, So from that point, you've built enough rapport so that they only want to sell to you, basically. And the best technique I've seen is to actually not offer, to get them lower the price, and sometimes quite significantly, and say, I'm really sorry, I'm not sure we can help. I'd love to help you, but I'm not sure we can help. And then this sort of makes it wait time, and their own motivation will show off, in that way. And then they'll lower price to what you want, or to a level, as you say, where it becomes more likely that they'll accept your offer, which is then at a lower gap compared to the initial asking price. And you really want to beat ignore the asking price. The asking price is putting off all your competition, because you'll buy this for 50K less than this anyway, If it was listed for 50K less, everybody will be jumping on it and it'd be gone, So that's really the idea there. And yeah, And the idea of the follow-up and the numbers game, it's very much occupying some headspace, so they only see you as the solution. And it's nothing more than, if it's the agent, it's a phone call to the agent. If it's a vendor, email, WhatsApp, phone call. I think phone call can be intrusive for some vendors sometimes. WhatsApp is great. Emails are great if you make them conversational. So where people fail with emails and negotiation in emails is, so here are the 15 questions I've got for you. And then emails takes a week to come back and they're like, well, screw that, But if you go, you've got 15 questions, but you ask them one at a time, and then you build up this email as a conversation like you would do and make it more like a WhatsApp type chat, than actually a corporate type email, you're writing to a supplier, a client, or something, where you don't want to, you want everything in one place, and forget that. You can build the momentum with this conversation, and they'll tell you a bit more. They'll tell you why they are trying to sell. They'll tell you what's the balance on the mortgage, or question 9, like over time, and you'll build so much rapport like this that they only want to sell to you.
Love it, Guillaume. And you're just like, what's so amazing about you is you're really a natural sales person, right? I don't know if you've done any sales training in your life, but like in theory, the concepts you're saying, from the way you approach people, the way you deal with things, it's beautiful organic sales tactics. The nice ones, not the like scarcity and urgency type tactics that you see in door-to-door salesmen, as it were. It's lovely to see, because you're just basically espousing these wonderful negotiation tactics that are designed to lead people in. Talking about conversation and led selling, and not trying to be too professional. I see this over and over again with people. They want to, because of their own insecurities and fears, they want to put forward a professional front. It's like, you don't think people are going to take you seriously if you don't put forward this very professional, proper, take me seriously, I'm a proper investor type front. The problem is, all you're doing is actually undermining your own success, because people aren't interested in that. You've created a facade. You've created something that people have to pierce, and actually creates a sense of uncertainty around who you really are. You've created a barrier, and the person you're interacting with isn't seeing the real you, and it automatically, subconsciously puts them on guard, because they don't know what they're really dealing with. But when you start approaching it as just a conversation, just having a chat, you don't think about professionalism coming across really well. You just have a chat. It's you. It's really you talking to them, and it gets them off their guard. And immediately, like you say, it opens up. They'll tell you stuff that you wouldn't expect, but you've done it by just being natural and opening up. And so, again, I always see this thing of, the more we try and be something, try to do something, the worse our results are. And the more you just relax and just let it happen, and just go in there with an open mind, and just be yourself, the easier it so often is. And that's a great example of it. And I'd say the other thing I really picked up on there, you keep saying the vendors, you are the only possible solution. The truth is, you're never the only possible solution, but because you're there, to them, you are the only thing that is easy. The only thing that is easy. Everything else is hard. They could go and do so many other things to try and sell that property, but human beings are inherently lazy. That's just a known fact. We all know it for ourselves. And yet that's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a lazy individual who can't be asked to go and do another option to try and sell their property. And you're right there. You're the easy, simple route. So as long as you're there, being a nice, easy route, and being present and being in their kind of life, and that's all you're saying, right? Regular follow-ups to be in their life. And then when it comes down to it, they'd rather sell to you because it's easy. It's just simple. Just get it done. And the problem, the motivation changes, because it gets more and more frustrating for them. They haven't, this property they haven't sold. You're the easy route. And I love the hurdles. I'd say another thing you've said there, which I love. So often we don't think about the other party and what we're doing to them. And we don't think about, like, you want them to take the next action to be as easy as possible. And you're right, if you put a list of 15 questions, how damn hard is that? And everyone, going back to the inherently lazy, everyone procrastinates. When the job becomes too annoying, too hard, you procrastinate on it. You just don't get around to it. And then eventually you forget about it. So yeah, one question at a time. Genius advice, so simple, but it solves the problem. So I love all of that, as with everything you've said. So then then what about coming to the numbers? You've got all these deals, or not deals, you've got all these motivated sellers that you're needing to give an offer in on. From my perspective, there is a question around deal stacking and analyzing. And I think it's something that is ignored in this industry. Everyone knows I'm Detail Dave. Everyone knows who listens to this podcast that I care about the detail and the numbers. That's where I come from. But in theory, property is a numbers game. Like, yes, it's a people game, but fundamentally it's an investment, and investment is numbers. Your job is just to find out the numbers so you can then go out and do the people thing. But like, if you don't have the numbers, right, like, what have you got? You've got a bodged deal, a bad investment, potentially. So I would love you to elaborate yourself on like, how have you gone through that journey of deal stacking and like trying, because if you've got loads of properties or loads of vendors you're looking at, it can be a real headache, quite hard work to do your numbers every time and do it well. I hear a lot of people with their back of a fag packet numbers, which may or may not be right, but invariably can cause you big problems if you get it wrong. So yeah, give me a bit of thoughts around that.
Yeah, so for me, I really take this for granted because somehow it's very easy for us. You want to have a bit of a system, an approach where systematically when you look at something, you have a process, So
Yes.
when it comes to, so there's two questions here. There's the deal analyzing and there's the deal calculation, deal stacking. So I think the deal analysis is kind of a risk, you look for like red flags and things like that, and the stacking is just black and white numbers, what the offer needs to be for it to work. And I take this for granted because it seems quite obvious for me, but the way you ask the question, you might not, because you might speak to other people with who it's not obvious, but it's very, very basic. So the deal stacking is just black and white. So you've got different strategies, different ways of stacking deals. So everyone should have their own spreadsheet or a system with a deal calculator for every strategy. So what I mean by that is you don't stack an HMO like you stack a buy to SA, or holiday lets, because you've got occupancy, cleaning fees, different things come in the mix. So you want to have just a place where you've got all the deal stacker templates, and they are right. And that's it, you just put the numbers in. So offer, what is the offer number? What is the deposit? And there's no uncertainty at all there. It's black and white what the offer needs to be. And then most people don't know what a deal is a deal for themselves. So you probably need to start by saying, what am I trying to achieve with this investment strategy? Am I looking for 10%, yield on some blocks of flats and buy-to-lets? Am I looking for, 40, 50% plus, HMO conversions where I'm going to do, I'm going in for 12 months of planning and heavy works and en-suites and stuff. So you need to start to be quite clear with what a deal is a deal. And there are some benchmark of, what a good HMO conversion is, what a ready-made HMO is, what like your typical blocks of flats lent to a charity is. So this gives you, again, the average of an industry, of your market, but you can be more or less demanding, you want, maybe everybody wants a good deal, but you need to understand that the more aggressive you are on the numbers, the smaller conversions you'll have through your pipeline. So if you want, if you only do all money out deals, you'll have a lot less than some guy buying buy-to-lets at market price. You'll have a lot more choices.
Yeah.
So it's understanding where is a sweet spot for you, where it outperformed the area, you can be happy for yourself, and it's still realistic that you'll find dozens of it. So for example, for us with HMOs, when we were actively growing the HMO side of the business, we wanted 40% ROI after we commercially refinance. We want to get the money out within a couple of years, basically. So that was the thing, and that's recognizing also it's a lot of work. You turn a 110 square meter property into 150 square meter property. You extend left, right, and center. You got some builders on it, for 6 months. It's you deserve the reward, But if you're looking for, then it's just there's a ratio between the work you do and the work you're ready to do and the expectations you can have on the other side. I don't think you can buy a ready-made HMO with 40% ROI. With it wouldn't work. So it's understanding the amount of work you can do and how this work you do can value and translate itself into the numbers on the other side. And that's kind of it really. Start with understanding what a deal is. What a deal is a deal. It's like what to offer at auction. You know what to offer at auction. You just stack it, and it's bloody black and white. So I'm not too sure.
I think you make it sound so easy, Guillaume, but I think the reason people can't struggle with that the black and white thing is that they actually don't know what their criteria or metrics are, right? And that comes back for me to focus. We started this, and I always come back to it. Jackie does as well. Like, if you don't get focused on your model, on what it is you're doing, you end up kind of you can do anything, right? I might do an HMO, or I might do a commercial conversion. I mean, what you said earlier was perfect. You said when we were growing our HMO portfolio, we were doing this and going after that. It was very clear model. But if you don't have that, it's very hard because every model has different things it's going to be able to achieve. 40% returns after refinance is really impossible on a buy-to-let property generally, because unless you're in a very special area, that's not going to happen. And every model has its own metrics, and that's, for me, I break this down into I have my deal criteria, which are the
that's right.
What makes a deal a deal. Like, it's got to be a certain type of property, a certain type of place. I'm going to do these things to it. What makes a deal? But then I call these deal metrics on the number side. I'm like, what key metric am I trying to hit? And then that's the 10% return, 20% return. I need to hit this much uplift on cost, this much on GDV. Like, that's I just call them metrics because it's separated out. And most people don't have that. So, like, for example, me on my analyzer, I have a very clear that the front and center is the very first thing at the top is an amalgamation of my 4 or 5 metrics that I am going after, and that's where it's literally at the top, and then I have to go down below it to start putting in numbers, because that's what's important to me. And most of my deals are set up in a way that, and this is what I do for my clients as well, that you are doing the same thing every time, which means nearly every number is the same every time. So approaching a deal stack is as simple as you say. It's probably changing 5 numbers. 5 numbers being the amount of refurb required, the maybe the level of interest you're paying to an investor, or on the bridge, and then really, like, how many rooms if it's an HMO, that kind of rent aspect. Then you've got the end value. You have to have an end value in mind for what it's worth. And the final number is, once you've put all those in, because everything else pretty much stays the same in your model, how much can I pay for it? And that is just playing with the purchase price until it hits your metrics.
Exactly.
Done. You've changed 5 numbers and you're done. But if you do a different deal type every time, all the numbers change, and it's a headache every single time. And for most people, becomes a procrastination point because, as I said, we are inherently lazy, even us. So it becomes hard.
But it's really true what you said. You said something. You said the numbers are always the same, but that's with the assumption that you are focused on this one strategy. And like, we've got 1,400 members on Property Filter, finding deals all the time. But we ask questions at the onboarding, like, what strategy are you into? So we can give like bespoke help and guides and stuff for this.
That's great.
And it always baffles me that, people are mixing things, and like, the ones who are going to be successful, they pick 1 or 2 strategy. They'll have a cash flow strategy, they'll have a profit strategy, an asset play, but they are very specific on that. And then the ones who are going to struggle, and we try to help and coach them into understanding that less is more. When you've got I'm doing rent to rent and commercial to resi in the same sentence, it doesn't make sense. But sadly, we get a lot of people come like this, and we do our best to try to help them. But there's a misunderstanding, a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes success in property. One is a trading business, is a cash flow strategy. It's a business scale thing. It's not really an investment. The agency model, of the rent to rent or management model, and the other one is like a medium size, great size, big size development. These are different flows. You can't do anything, but you can't do everything. And then it might be that you need to focus on the one thing now, and then do the other thing in 18 months. And it's absolutely fine. But people don't give themselves enough time, enough longevity. You probably, and the prime, one of the problems with some of the education industry around, where you get things like you're 2 rent-to-rent deals away from sitting on the beach. Like, well, rent-to-rent is not passive. Like, like HMO is not passive. So people are being a bit not lied to, but it's been very misled into believing that they're 2 deals away from doing nothing and retiring, and it's very not it's very much not the case. And because a lot of people who get into property, and myself included, when we started, is we don't have business skills. We come from maybe an employee background, and we hit a frustration point, and we want to change. And we believe that of all the different side hustles, classes and asset classes, property could be the vehicle for whatever reason. And that's great to get into the industry because you want to make changes in your life, because so many people have done it before you, and I think everybody can actually achieve significant things. But equally, it's quite it would be quite misleading and challenging not to stop a little bit and get some business skills on the way. Like thinking you're 2 deals away from retiring is bloody is yeah it's an advice that we see going around all the time. But what people have not understood is they need to work on their mindset so that they understand like business modeling and commercial balances, and say, oh, for me to have a team in place, a management in place, and me to be able to focus my attention on other things, my first commercial balance is I need 10 units. So you're not 2 deals away from sitting at the beach. You're 10 units away from having your business in a position where you can have a part-time manager full-time, and then therefore you can grow other aspects. And maybe your next commercial balance is to go from 10 to 50, and then from 50 to 200, and that's really like the trading model. So you'll have different cost base, like based on the number of units you need to serve, that will grow, and then you have always a gap in between. It's because, one, I don't know, property manager could look at, 20 units in a given month, but from the time you've got 21 units to 40, you are either overstretched or under-resourced, like, so under-resourced or over, like you're paying too much for so you've got to cross this like crossing the desert, you have to cross this from one commercial balance to the next one. So these are all business skills you pick up on the way, but people need to, I think when you get into like a strategy like rent, you need to have more of I'm building a specialist letting agency for short stay, holiday lets, or for, like very specific for corporate stay in city center, or for, blue collar HMO things. And people don't really understand who they are serving. They're thinking how many deals they need, but they need to have more of a business mind. Who am I serving? What is the brand I'm creating? How do I attract this specific type of customer? What house do they want? Because we get this all the time, it's like, oh, property filter, like, where's the template for SA, So it's like, what SA? Like, what of the 20 different types of customers you can have in one town? What is it? Is it your corporate, single executive, that needs a place to stay Monday to Friday? Is it just for 2 nights? Is it 2 maybe senior managers who are going to share? They want 2 bathrooms. Is it for you and your nan to go on a holiday somewhere? Like there's a million different case for short stay, So and most people don't really look at it from a business perspective and looking at actually who is the customer and what are you trying, how can you serve them? And then by having this clarity, you'll know also, what are these people paying for, and then what amenities do they need? And all of a sudden you build a very clear criteria of what deals you are looking for, and then you can layer the metrics you were talking about on top of it.
Fantastic. I agree with everything you said. That's obviously why we got into business strategy, and why we brought strategy to the property industry, was for literally that concept is how can we make it easy to understand property as a business, rather than treating it as this kind of, like you say, just a thing that you do a bit and then somehow expect to step away from. But I would love to hear, going back to what some of the first things you said, right? We talked a bit about the fact that people start sourcing, then they stop sourcing because they get busy with the project, and then they start again, they start. And one of the words you used, which I think was fantastic, was the term pipeline. A pipeline. And I know this is a very standard business term. It's understood in sales pipeline, marketing funnel, sales pipeline. People hear these terms, they kind of think they know what they mean. But I don't think when push comes to shove, the rubber hits the road, people don't really know what it means. And I think you probably know better than anyone what pipeline means in terms of deal sourcing. So yeah, could you just tell me what your understanding of that term means when it comes to sourcing your deals?
Yeah, basically, so you want to convert all the good leads that come to you into great deals. And this acronym will change, over the course of different steps. And the steps are quite predictable. For you to convert a good lead into a great deal, chances are you might have to view the property. You might have to have conversations with people. You might have to certainly put offers in, or have conversations about the offer. And certainly you'll want to follow up. At some stage, you might do some due diligence, and stack your deal and things like that. So in the most basic term, you can build all these steps, from cold to warm, from lead to deal, in a very predictable way. And what you want is having those needles in the haystack, coming at the end, like having your magnet at the front end of your pipeline, attracting all these good leads, and then you just push them through the pipeline, and then every step of the pipeline is an action to take for you to convert all these good leads into great deals, basically. So there's no, and the problem is people don't have a pipeline, so they'll be super obsessed about this one property. They look at something, they try to project their strategy on the vendor, on the property, on the floor plan, and I want to do an HMO on this, and they obsess, they stack it left, right, and center again and again to try to make the number work better, because when you actually get the insurance quote, I can put £20 cheaper per month, so maybe it's going to stack better. And this is like this big procrastination loop. And the sad thing is people will obsess about this one deal. They'll have conversations and it's going to look like something is happening. And then 3 months later, like the things falls through. They can't agree on price anymore. And the truth is they've probably have upset the vendor all along, wasted everybody's time. And this is because they don't have the abundance and pipeline mindset. And the pipeline is just an organized way of you to track many properties at different stages. And you will be condemned to stop, stall, and a lot of effort if you are not organized about about deal finding. As basic as having just a few steps. I'm doing a due diligence. So do you do some level of due diligence before you view the property? Do you revisit this maybe after? Do you offer before viewing the property or after? There should be your way of doing business, and you should stick with it, because it's the only way you'll be able to scale. And even if you are alone, sometimes we can be our worst employee, you need to follow your own steps, you need to just follow the steps, so that if anything, it breaks you away from any procrastination loop you are in, because you see progress. You can see that it's actually predictable and a lot more predictable than you thought. And you'll surprise yourself to see how healthy, juicy, and fat your pipeline can become very, very easily, by applying simple concepts of lead generation and follow-ups,
Absolutely brilliant. What a wonderful explanation of a pipeline. So yeah, from my perspective, just for our pipeline, it follows pretty much that exact rule of we actually go down and we always offer on a deal before we actually view it to save ourselves time. So our pipeline was designed to be as efficient as possible for us. So I'm always thinking about time management and efficiency in how we set up our pipeline, because I don't want to put time and effort into something that isn't necessarily going to pan out. So I have the initial phases where step one is going to be a quick appraisal, like a non-deep due diligence, one that is just very fast, and a quick number stacking as well, so that I know that on a rough number stacking, it's going to be fine, and I know what number I'm going to go in at. I know you said earlier you found the best negotiation starts with no. You don't put the offer and you wait for them to put a number, right? But obviously that's not always possible. And our whole process works. Our negotiation process, obviously, we do put numbers in, but we tend to always have a walkaway price that gets calculated on day one, an initial analysis, we call it. But we come to a first number. We know if they accept it, we definitely be able to do it. There's no problems whatsoever. It's just a definite. And then we might put that number forwards, but we know it's not the highest we can go. So we've built in margin. So we're just putting it forwards, and we're putting it forwards in a way of like, look, we're interested to go see this property. We'd be looking in the region of this kind of area. Now, for our kinds of deals, that work well, because actually we're dealing with large blocks of flats and it's a big enterprise to go and view it. Whereas for other people, I often suggest actually it's better to get in there and view the property, because you can put them off with a low offer, low ball start, and they might just be like, don't waste my time, and then you don't even get to go see the property. So it's better if you want to get it in your pipeline, it's better in many ways to have viewed it sometimes, just so you can come back to it later very easily. But that comes, like you say, down to your specific approach. So in ours, we do an initial analysis. Then if they're kind of anywhere in the ballpark, they say, do you know what, it might work, you might as well view it. Then we go view it. And then after viewing, I would then do a deep dive analysis, a much more detailed one. And at that point, I come up with my walkaway price. I call the price that I would go up to, and then I'm got to stop there. The negotiation starts from where we gave the number in before, all the way up to the walkaway price, at which point we stop and put it in for follow-ups. It's in the for follow-ups. If they don't take that price, it goes into our for follow-ups stage of the pipeline, which we then give it a category. It's like either follow-up monthly, follow-up quarterly, follow-up 6 monthly, depending on what the motivations of the seller were. And so the ones where they seem fairly motivated, it'd be obviously monthly at least to go and check in. For ones where it might have gone to someone else, sold some to someone else, then we might check in monthly just to check if that sale's going through, because some of our best deals came from deals that fell through and motivated changes. So yeah, we give it a priority level and then follow up based on that priority level. And then that gets us to, you're right, then it becomes a numbers game, and you're shocked. It's shocking how many can work out. That, I mean, I think one of my best deals, we offered, it was on the market for 750 grand originally, block of 5 flats, and we eventually agreed it at 500,000, 250 grand less, 33% reduction in price 2 years later. And that was only because we had a good follow-up process in place, and it became a fantastic deal. Same, I had another one that was on the market at 2.4 million, block of 13 flats. We offered at 1.6 originally, and then kind of agreed 1.8, but he wasn't happy and it couldn't work out. 2 years later, even though the market's gone up a lot, we still agreed at 1.84 2 years after that, and then it was worth 2.6 at that point. So but only from a great follow-up system, keeping in the relationship build. That's where the best deals come. I think you said that at the beginning. But you're right, the phase of the pipeline. So thank you so much for explaining that.
You seem to be describing the props filter pipeline right here. So well done. I should have...
And that's it. The props
Can I add something, Daniel, about what you said about offering before or after? And I think there's two information in what you shared. One is you are actually quite experienced, so your time is worth everything. So I would say, and for some people, so for example, we help people really save their time in this similar way. So, doing 10 times fewer viewings, sending 10 times fewer letters, and then really niching down on these needles in the haystack opportunities. But equally, when people are starting out, we don't encourage them to go and cut their teeth. You want to really build up this experience of seeing properties, different conditions of properties, speaking with different people, and building this muscle. And you can't really skip the gears. If you want to go further, you really want to go and build that. And the second thing you said is you are offering before, and especially on blocks of flats, and it makes total sense. So, it's a pain for the agent, it's a pain for the vendor. You've got a portfolio of 10 properties. Hello, can I view it?
It's so true.
No, so actually the context of this, all day long, you want to offer before, and they're used to, it's investor to investor. It's proper like B2B kind of relationship. It's a bit different when you buy people's homes, where you probably need to go on build a relationship before you can offer or see the offer go down. But yeah,
I totally agree. Yeah, and I think when we first started, we were doing simple one-bed flats, and we would never have not viewed something. It was an immediate everything. We viewed every single one-bed flat in the area, full stop, and then every single time put an offer in. And I think that's one of the things people struggle with as well. You talked about always sourcing. You said even if you got stuff on, you should be doing it once a week at least. Try and view one property a week. I think people struggle with this because if they haven't got the money lined up, if they've got it all tied into project, might not have another investor, whatever it might be, they're like, but what's the point? And what do I do if actually I viewed it and I can't offer on it, is how they view it. What would you say to people like that?
Yeah, so, if you look at what we are up against, so there are millions of people scrolling through Rightmove. How many of them actually book viewings, like, I don't know, maybe 10, 15% tops. And then on the ones that view property, how many of them put offers in, and then is it another 15, 20% of them, So once you get into the mindset that you want to do 10 times fewer viewings, value your time, only view the good stuff. And then every viewings you do, if it's worth viewing, it's worth offering, and vice versa, So it's like, why did you go and view it in the first place? So why are you in this property game at all? So and then all the what ifs, oh, what if they say yes? What if, I don't have the money, I don't have investors? This is the old momentum thing, where you create yourself, your own personal brand, your own, the perception people have of you by being active all the time. And you've got this flying kicking around, and bringing you deals and all the time. And the truth is, it's a really good problem to have if you actually accept a good deal. So worst case scenario, you can flip it to someone. You'll give it for a fee to a friend. And I'd encourage everyone to be in some kind of a property community of some sort with people doing similar things to them. You'll have people, at your level, people ahead of you, people a bit behind you, and you learn from everyone. The people at your level, you kind of race in a healthy way. The people ahead of you, you can look up to and they'll help you. And then you learn by teaching people who are, a bit maybe a bit behind you in terms of the experience, etc. And the great thing about this is then you'll have other people, they'll, if you're the best person, if you are the best in the group at finding deals, everybody will look up to you and with money, bags of cash, so worst case, you can flip it to a friend like this, and again, property is a people business, and it means also, from your own network of, the people you surround yourself with. And then, yeah, like, why did you get involved in property in the first place? Like, for me, so I guess maybe there's some mental and mindset things people need to work on, but I don't know, I live in this kind of place of certainty, and my word is very simple. It's like, well, you want to do property, like put offers, like view good deals and view good leads and offer on everything, like it's kind of
I'm glad you said that.
You need to dumb it up, like sometimes.
But I think I'm glad you said that, because I think anyone listening here, everyone has their own mindset issues. You've obviously, one of the reasons you're so good in this area is because you are lucky enough to not have those mindset issues around offering on properties. And that's the reason you're so good at it naturally. But anyone listening, just hear what Guillaume's just said and just know that that's the truth. That's what he should be doing if you want to be successful in property. And if you are finding reasons or excuses to not do it, whatever they might be, such as, you know what, I haven't got any money lined up, I won't go this week, I won't do it. I'm not sure, won't be able to put an offer in, I'm worried about that. Any excuse, whatever it might be, know right now that is a mindset blockage that is holding you back. Very simple, nothing else. If you were Guillaume, the genius of finding properties and sourcing properties, you would have been out there, you would have viewed the property, and you would have put an offer in. And I think you're right, Guillaume. I work on a basis of you just put in an offer that would work. You put in a lowball offer that would work for you, whatever. The agents like you because you've actually made an effort, you've actually put something in, and that's good because it makes them look good to the seller. They've actually got someone with an offer. But if they accept it, you'll make it work because it's a great number. And if they don't accept it, that's fine. It goes in your pipeline for follow-up for when you feel better, when you need a deal. I think brilliant. Right, look, I'm aware of time, so this has been longer than our normal episode. So I just want to finish up. Guillaume, it's been such a wonderful conversation. And you've said it's just gem after gem after gem after gem. Like, everyone listening, I hope, has been writing down with a pen everything you've said, because it's just exactly what everyone needs. And in theory, we've talked about, the kind of making sure you're clear on what your deal criteria are, putting them through some sort of a pipeline, having a very clear, easy way to make sense of who the motivated sellers are and who aren't, being able to find the needles in the haystack. We've talked a lot about kind of being the people, having a people-oriented approach and being the only possible or easy solution, and having a nice, easy way to then rate the motivations of your sellers. There's been a lot about kind of taking a very systematic approach, and in particular around your pipeline, making sure you've got a really good pipeline in place, and then stacking deals and having a good deal stacker that means you can easily jump through those numbers and do it very quickly and easily, so that doesn't become a procrastination point, and know what your deal metrics are at the back end, and know what a deal is for you in terms of numbers and in terms of criteria. Those are the main things, and just get on with it. Just go out there and put in offers, and don't get scared by an asking price. So that's my executive summary of everything I've heard from you, in a very quick way. What I would love to know, because this is the magic, right? I know you have a fantastic solution to pretty much everything I've just described there. almost everything. Maybe not the mindset side, although it sounds like you might be helping people with that as well, as you as you work with them. Can you tell me about what you've done as a solution to all of that?
Yeah, so all the problems we described, these are lived problems, like turning up at viewings and nobody wants to do a deal, sending loads of money on letters. All of these were our pain. So a few years ago, when we committed to property and we started to look for our own deals, we had to go through all of these challenges. And being engineers, we initially we looked for solutions because the cheapest way of using a tool, you're not going to build your own wheelbarrow, is to go and buy one, and so we couldn't find things that worked for us. So we created Property Filter, which basically helps property investors find great deals faster. So it's all about finding your own deals. So the way it works, it matches and merges all property related data all in one place. And it's all about finding motivated sellers and all about doing deals. So it's not one place where you go and procrastinate on looking at lots of data and things like that and wonder what on earth have you done all weekend. It's very much, within minutes, you set and forget your criteria. You go straight to the top 5, top 10 motivated sellers in your area, and you're ready to go and do viewings. And then it's described in very similar way to the way your own pipeline works, where you can do some due diligence before. And the idea is you don't want to, you want to initially stack with a bit of margin, exactly like you did, because this is going to be the bottleneck of your sourcing thing. If you spend ages, 2 days on an initial due diligence, so you stack very quickly. There's lots of automation. It finds the full address of property, pulls all the information. We've got deal calculators for every strategy. All the stuff we talked about basically is in the system, all the way to the pipeline, all the way to the follow up. Set a reminder to call back in 2 weeks, in 4 weeks, exactly as you described it. So we've got 1,400 members using this up and down the country, and we get phone call every week, if not every day, because they find their first deal, their third deal, or indeed their 30th deal. I think some of your clients actually do really well. Churning lots of HMOs through the system. So it's really, really great. And we joked at the start that I'm an accidental tech entrepreneur because we built this for ourselves and as property guys. And when people wanted, we started to do quite well after it, following the principles we talked about, so far. And then people wanted in on the secret, so it's like, and we were like, well, build your own, like, why are you asking me, and it's to show like how immature we were, for lots of, you learn a lot of skills and mindset things, as well, and then we pretty much gave it away to a few of our friends in our property circle, same type of community we described earlier, and I know you run a really successful one. And then they started to do really well too. And then they wanted more stuff, and like, well, I told you, build your own, and then from there, say, oh, well, if you do this, we'll pay you. So, okay, that's interesting. So, and then we never launched, we never launched, like startups will have like launch parties and stuff. It just merged into this thing, from a tool we built for ourselves to now a really fast growing, tech company in the property space, all about helping, common people, ordinary people do, change their lives through property by finding great deals, like it's all downstream from finding great deals. So, and yeah, we feed off people's feedback. We're very, people don't really expect this from a tech company, but we run lots of calls and support, and, you speak to me every week as a member, there's a lot around the support and the live chat. You speak to a human, and for us, it's not so much what we've earned, because we've grown and it's all good problems to have, etc. But it's very much been what we've learned, and because we've been so engaging with our community that we know all the. So we are building things all the time, but we've really learned all the. There's huge leverage in having 1,000 people doing deals all the time in your community, and we know exactly what people with boots on the ground, want. So although we started with good assumptions because we built it for ourselves, we were our own avatar. Now seeing all different ways people do deals is just really, it's really, really interesting. And now we are aggressively adding to it all the time, So, and our North Star metrics is all about, how many deals can we get this week for our members? It's all about improving the product, the service, all about doing deals. So yeah, I'm having a really good ride. To be fair, it's really fun, engaging with some of the most active people, doing deals. It's really grown a passion for for this and an addiction for the impact we can have on other people. So it's been really rewarding on the like personal side, in terms of fulfillment. So
yeah, that's so nice. And I think you and I first of all can't recommend it enough. That would be my starting point, because I think what you've done in such an amazing way is to merge the needs of the property industry with the business savviness of someone who understands how a business needs to operate, and you've turned them into one simple tech solution that does both. That's a starting point, and most people don't know like what a pipeline is, and yet you've just got it right there on a system, ready for them, ready to go. Lots of aspects we talked about people just aren't aware of because they haven't had the business training. You've already integrated it in this product. But also I'd say one of the reasons you're here on our podcast is because you are coming from a place of service. You believe in the product, in how it actually helps, and you wouldn't be doing this unless it made huge impact with your clients, right? And with everyone you're working with. If it wasn't making huge impact, you wouldn't be happy, you wouldn't be fulfilled. Even if it was making you money, it would be like, what's the point? But I really feel it from you. It's a passion for helping people to transform their businesses through this product. And with that comes hand in hand with the fact that you're constantly improving. And it's one of our kind of beliefs is that we believe in kind of perpetual improvement. You're always looking for ways to improve things, make things better. And when it comes to service, that's such a magical thing to be able to do, because you're just always looking at the impact, always looking at how it's being received, how people are using it, and always saying, well, how could we improve this? How can it be better for them? How can it make more powerful? And I think that shows in the results people are getting. I see it in our clients, and when our clients sign up to your service and start using it, they immediately feel buttoned down in a way they weren't before, and they immediately start finding deals that they were struggling. It was all a bit amorphous before, a bit kind of up in the air, and then they start with your stuff and it's just like boom, the links come together, and the business side starts to work a bit more smoothly, and the deals are suddenly there within their reach where they weren't before, which is why I wanted to have you on this podcast, saying your genius piece. And actually it's been amazing, because the reason your product is so good is because you are so good and you have put yourself into it in such a great way. So that's thank you so much. It's been a joy. Just one last thing, like what would you say to anyone who's listening? Like, what's the most important takeaway from your perspective when you look at all your clients, your product, everything? What's the most important takeaway when it comes to finding deals?
Yeah, I think you want to be doing less, so people want add more things, and if you look at the most successful people, in this game or in any business capacity, they are the ones who are doing less, and you want to go inch wide, mile deep, So one strategy, one area, one thing at a time, and just be focusing on one thing at a time, and then you remove a lot of the noise, a lot of the procrastination, and then you'll be able to execute, and then just be crystal clear. This is the one thing, and just go for it for the next 12, 18 months.
Wow, what an amazing conversation. I hope you loved listening to that as much as those guys loved recording it. They could have gone on for hours. If you aren't already connected with Guillaume, then his contact details are in the show notes below. You can find out more about Property Filter at app.property-filter.co.uk, and you can also find Property Filter on Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn. Check it out. Our most successful clients that we work with are all utilising the tool Property Filter, because it is all about that systemised approach for finding deals. If you're new to the podcast and you want to think about the other side of the coin, which is finding investors, then check out episode 16, which is called The Chicken or the Egg, the Deal or the Investors First. And so a great deep dive into the deal side of it in this episode. So flip on back to episode 16 if you want to delve more into the investor side of it and how you get the investment lined up to go with those deals. So until this time next week, when you will be joined by myself and Dom, and we're going to be talking about breaking the habit of never having enough time. Another amazing conversation winging your way over to you in 7 days' time. But for now, have a great week.